morning. Happy Wednesday. Welcome to the Pitch Track Chronicles. I'm Uncle Tats. I'm here at Rob and Donald as always. And Juan Soto met the media. I know there was a little bit of chirping about
Sorry, I gotta interrupt.
Go ahead.
I gotta interrupt. I'm looking at this chat here, right? And Rob's dad is saying, "This is too good. This is too good." Freezing my you know what off. Other than that, I'm good, right? And the strike zone is like, "Oh, I understand. It's cold here too, right?" Rob's dad's like, "Where are you?" Colorado. We cannot talk about cold in comparison to Colorado. It's impossible.
Colorado. Well, last show you were wrapped up like a freaking Eskimo.
Exactly. Holy crap! It's cold. See, where are you, Colorado? Yeah. Freaking cold,
what's going on, everybody? And like we said,
South Park series is them in the snow. So.
Oh my god. But no, Juan Soto met the media through Zoom, which is a little strange because usually they like to have the big, press conference, put the jersey on and all that shit. And so it was a little different. And the difference is the Yankees are still busy. To bring everybody back to New York and have this whole press conference in the media area at the stadium or wherever they do it. I just don't. It was the way it had to be done that way. I didn't think it was that big of a deal, but after hearing some of the questions in the comments, and we're going to bring up a couple of the questions while we're on. I'm even more hyped that he's here than I was before. I think he nailed every question during the conference. What do you guys think?
He's a Scott Boras guy, so if there's anyone that's going to tell you how to speak to the media, it's him. He answered that extension question perfectly. Yeah. He didn't say like, "Oh, well, we'll talk about that when the time." He said, "No, they know who to talk to. I'm here to play baseball." That was the perfect answer. That was the prototypical Scott Boras answer. So I'm glad that he's just wants to keep a baseball focus. He hasn't met with anybody yet. And he's still in Florida. He was at the Dolphin game Monday night. That was cool. And yeah, so I'm sure at some point they'll do like a actual thing where they'll show the jersey off. They'll introduce him for real. It's just they might still be on the West Coast for all we know. They might still be trying to court Yamamoto right now. So obviously getting everybody to New York, getting him to New York, doing a press conference and flying back out. He'd probably go back to Miami or to somewhere in South Florida where he is. So I don't think it would make a lot of sense to do all that traveling. If they would have done it at the winter meetings like they would Stanton a few years ago, they'd make more sense. But it was fine. Just get him a few questions, let him answer, get introduced, and then we know we got him. That's all that matters. We know Juan Soto's a New York Yankee. So it doesn't matter how the press conference went. He answered it fine. The questions were fine. And we just know that we got the guy that we needed to get. First guy we needed to get. Now we got to get the other one.
Donald, what did you think?
He kept his cards close to his chest because he'd only been in New York for like a cup of coffee. So he's not really he's not going to be like, hell yeah, I'm re-signing right now. Give me a piece of paper. I'm right here. But, he kept his cards close to his chest. But what was clear in his responses was that he can't wait to be in amongst the Dominican community in the Bronx. That's one thing that's means a lot to him. I get the sense I get from him is he's a really good guy, a really cool guy, a nice guy. He's going to fit really, really well. I think it means a lot to him. He mentioned how, putting on the Yankee hat is different than any other thing that he's experienced, and I think it's a dream come true for him. He's got family in New York. He's already indicated that in the press conference. He's got family here. And I think the Dominicano community aspect is something quite big for him. I think it means a lot to him. And I think he's going to have a blast playing in front of them. What I also loved was he was asked a question about how his approach is going to change with the right the right field short porch, and he says, "I'm not going to change my approach." He says, "I don't try and hit home runs. That's not what I'm trying to do. I don't try and hit home runs.
What's funny is
I try and get good contact. I try and hit line drives and take it from there." That's the kind of approach that I like. You know what I mean? It's not someone that is just aiming to hit home runs all the time. It's someone who's got an approach and has got a plan at the plate. He was also asked how the pitch clock affected him at first, and he said it did affect him at first. He didn't like the pitch clock because every at bat he has a plan. He has a plan in mind, and it took him a little bit of time to adjust. But now he's cool. As the season went on, he was cool. He was fine. But that was really cool. That was actually quite a cool answer because I actually always thought it wasn't just the pitchers that would get affected; it's the batters too, especially good batters, because every good batter has a plan. He likes to see what the pitcher's arsenal is and what's the next pitch is going to be, and I think it's pretty cool that he eliminated that aspect of what a great hitter does. A great hitter has a plan every at bat, and so it changed for him because obviously it was so fast. Every 20 seconds he was having to get ready for a new pitch. It changes things, because if you listen to what I think A-Rod was talking about a big home run that he hit for the Yankees one time, and he was talking about his approach at that particular at bat, and he was talking about the strategy. He was like, okay, that guy threw a slider. He's not going to go fast. He's not going to go slider again. He's going to try and beat me with a fastball. I have to be ready for this fastball. And he says the first fastball went past him. He was like, okay, well, I think he's going to try and sneak one past me again. And he was ready for the second fastball. He hit it out of the home run. So that's someone who has an approach at the plate, and that's what Soto was identifying.
Yeah, I have queued up the question that was asked about the stadium and how he's going to approach the outfield. So we'll get to that and hear what he has to say directly from him.
Caldera from the Record. I just wanted to get your thoughts on playing the majority of your games now at Yankee Stadium, what your take is on that. And for a guy whose power is traditionally left center, what that if that short right field porch might change your approach any.
I mean, definitely not. I'm gonna try to keep my same approach. We all know that there's a really short porch right there, and it's gonna be on your mind. But definitely, I'm gonna try to stay in the same approach I've been doing. That's what it takes me all the way where I'm at right now. So I think there's no reason to change it. I think I'm gonna be trying to do the same thing. And my strength is going left center, and I think that's what I'm gonna try to do.
I think he said, I don't think it could have been put any better. Yeah, he's not going to change his approach. He's just, yeah. But what I like about how he's approaching this, he's going to be a mirror of Judge. We know they have the power to just be a strict home run hitter, but they don't try to be. And I think those two, I can't wait. I really can't. I can't. I want the season to start right now.
What gets lost with Soto is a lot of people think he's a power guy. He's not, though, because he's always been a high average, high on base, and the power just comes naturally for him. But last year was his highest home run total. I think he had 35 or something like that. So it's not like he's not Aaron Judge type of power hitter. He's not a Giancarlo Stanton type of power hitter. He's a good hitter, and he's going to get the home runs because he's a strong dude, and he's going to get, even if he doesn't try to pull the ball, it's going to happen in Yankee Stadium, and those are going to go over the wall. And the fact that he can go the other way, we see how Judge does it, going the other way, and he does more going the other way than he is pulling it. So it's going to be great. And the fact that we added an absolute need to the lineup, desperate need to the lineup, the guy that is just a absolute brilliant hitter, generational hitter, and they don't need to touch anything. Our new hitting coach, his name, I'm forgetting what his name was, but he said he wants to have like a different approach to each player, kind of like specific to each player, how he wants to attack it. Aaron Judge, Juan Soto, don't touch them. They don't need to be messed with. There's a few other guys you can deal with, try to get Volpe on the right track to be more consistent and things like that. Maybe even try to get something with Rizzo, Torres, and all that. But those two, don't touch. Judge and Soto, they don't need to be messed with. Their hitting approach is perfectly fine, and that's exactly what they need to do.
Exactly. What would Dylan Lawson have told him to do? Become a strict pool hitter. You'd lose 70 fucking points on his batting average, just like that. Because Soto's strength is to aim for left center, aim for center, and hit to all fields. And he will hit home runs because he's naturally one of the best hitters to ever walk the earth. And he's going to hit a ton of them too. But don't become a strict pool hitter. And that's what he was basically saying. I'm not going to become a strict pool hitter. I love that. I love that. I love that. That means it's not going to take 70 points off his batting average, because that's what happens. If you're just aiming to pull the ball at all times and you'll just be a home run or nothing guy, then that's the results you're going to get. And he's far too good for that. I love that. That means that I think that he and Aaron Judge are going to be an unbelievable tandem together. I think they're just going to rake. And Brad, you need to get some better jokes, man. Like, seriously.
Turn the tables on him, because Brad's the one that's always trying to bring the jokes. Oh, Mr. Technologically, whatever he wants to say about Tats. But now he's turning the table. Now Donald's turning the tables on you. So let's see what you got back, Brad. Go ahead. Try to fire back.
Yeah, my biggest critic, my favorite critic. But this, like you guys have said, the chat said, this should have been the approach all along. Don't have a team focus on what you want to do. Each player has their own individual talent, their own niche that makes them a major league player. That's what they should have been capitalizing on from day one. Don't make them a player that they're not supposed to be. Right? That's what started to fix Volpe. When they said, just go back to what you were doing that got you here. The whole chicken parm. The same thing that, and I think when I forget who the player was. It was Peraza. When they said just go back to what you were doing. They started focusing more on the individual ability than what the team's philosophy was. And that's where we started to see a little bit of the sunshine coming through. And then they just went right back into they ended up falling back on bad habits, which kind of sucks. But that's just the reality of it. I think with this new coaching staff, I wish we had a new manager, but it is what it is. But with this coaching staff, it leaves a lot of room for optimism.
Yeah, I actually really like our coaching staff on paper. Maybe outside of the manager, but which is the most important one. But I like Rosen. We love Blake. And I think Brad Ausmus is going to actually help more than he's going to hurt this team. And we'll see how it goes. Do we get a changed Aaron Boone? 6 years later, do we get a changed Aaron Boone? But that's the most important thing, is how he manages the bullpen. But we know that we've got guys, at least in this lineup, that he doesn't need to mess around with. Like, when they're playing, Judge and Soto need to be your 2-3, because I don't think they're taking Judge out of that 2 spot, because he's been outstanding there since 2017. They don't need to move him from that spot. So that's your 2-3 right there. Don't mess with it. You want to try to get a better leadoff hitter? Let's say they try Torres there. Maybe they go with Volpe or Verdugo. Fine. But your 2-3 needs to stay the same. Judge and Soto got to be back-to-back whenever they're playing, because you cannot game plan for that if you're a pitcher. You have to approach that so carefully. No matter how good you are on the mound, you got to go against those two back-to-back. It's going to be a problem. One of those two is going to get you one way or the other, whether it's a homer or a walk or a double, whatever they do. So that's the thing that we need to see, is no matter what, Judge and Soto back-to-back. in that order. 2-3 every single game that they're playing. And that makes Aaron Boone's job a lot easier when you have that kind of guarantee in your lineup. It's just about keeping them there and not messing with the good thing. And the rest of that lineup, I think, is going to fall in line. It's going to end up being really balanced, and it's going to end up – I'm hoping that from day one we see what they want to do. I think the only spot that might be tough to determine right now is a leadoff hitter, because it could be Verdugo, it could be Volpe, it could be Torres, it could even be LeMahieu. We don't really know yet. But once they figure that out, I think we're going to roll with that, with a really strong top 6 every single game.
Yeah, I like Brad Ausmus, man. I think I think that was actually a decent hire. And listen, 50% of the time he was very, very successful in Detroit. And I'm sorry, but for Detroit, that's phenomenal. Because look at what Detroit have been throughout their career, throughout their history as a franchise. Yeah. So the fact that 50% of the time he made them into the playoff team, that's pretty good running. It's kind of like the Anchorman joke, 60% of the time it works every time. Brad Ausmus, 50% of the time it works all the time. So that's a great freaking. He did pretty well as a manager there. So I think he'll be a very fine bench coach, and should definitely help things. I don't know anything about Rowson, whether he's going to help or not. We have to see how that goes. I just hope that he's not going to be sticking to the previous Yankee philosophy. From what I understand, he is more of a guy who prefers proper contact to all fields rather than just becoming a strict pull hitter, which was a Dylan Lawson disaster class. So I think you will see an upgrade there. Matt Blake is some sort of sinker guru, so he turns good sinker balls into great sinker balls. So I'm sure he's going to help with the rest of our pitching staff. He's been great in general, and we'll see what Aaron Boone has to offer. But hey, if we put together a superstar team, which we're starting to do, then even he can't screw it up. So I'm pretty excited, man. I'm really excited.
No, it's. I want to get to this comment here from the strike zone, right? Because I think we don't want to. I don't even read this as a defense of Boone, but just kind of like an explanation of what could have gone wrong. And he's like, Boone was given a bad team last year. The bats were awful. There was overuse of the bullpen because the starters couldn't eat up innings except for Cole. That was a big factor. And I don't think it's an excuse to why Boone is still here, but it does make sense. I don't read that also as a plea to keep him. We all know how NFP thinks. He's not a cheerleader.
No.
With this lineup that we're going to have this year, if Boone still continues to have the same hiccups, then we're going to have a problem, because he can eat. And it goes to what Jonathan said also, keep a consistent lineup. I think that's also a very big key when it comes to being successful.
Yeah, he was given such a shit lineup all year. So I'm going to give him a pass for that. It's no reason. I mean, it's no excuse to be like he needs a 5-year extension or anything, but there'd be a few managers in baseball that can find a way to get success with that lineup. The guys we were rolling out there, especially when Judge and Bader were both hurt, and Stanton was out too. Yeah, it was Rizzo and Torres and a struggling LeMahieu, a concussed Rizzo. We had Volpe, who was, he's a rookie. Who else? Willie Calhoun, Franchi Cordero. Come on, it was a disaster. But Boone's biggest issue, and it's been a long time, and it's been a Yankee manager problem for a while since Girardi, it's been the bullpen management. It's just, how do you manage a bullpen? How do you make sure that you're not taking guys out too soon or keeping them in too late? That's been Boone's biggest issue. He either keeps a guy in too late or he takes him out too soon. How many times did he take Domingo Germán out of a game last year when he was at like 80 pitches and he was cruising and ended up costing us a game? So that's his biggest thing. And if he has, and we got to avoid that burnout, because early in the season, he likes to use that bullpen a lot. And we see that Scranton shuttle. Now we're down a few pitchers. And I know we just added a couple of guys and we signed someone to a minor league contract yesterday, another lefty, but You have to avoid that. You need to keep your best guys fresh, because we saw King last year when he was in the bullpen go through that middle of the season rut. Clay Holmes, where he couldn't get anybody out. They had to take him out of the closer role. A few years ago, it was Chapman that went through it. There was that time last year where Canely nobody can get on base against him, and then he couldn't get anybody out. So you got to avoid that burnout with these relief pitchers, and that's been Boone's biggest issue. If you can do that, if that's what he can change this year, is how do you manage a bullpen better? Maybe trust more of the gut instead of the analytics. And when it comes to a bullpen, then we're going to win a lot more games, because I keep going back to that first half of 2022. He was clicking. Everything was clicking. He didn't make a bad decision. You can go back and watch our shows from the first half of 2022. There wasn't a single one of us on this show that was criticizing the guy. We were like, this is a different manager. And then second half of that season and all of last year, it's like he was back to his old ways. So go back to what you were doing just a year and a half ago, and we'll probably see better results. You have a good enough bullpen. You do. Use it. Stop trying to mix and match. Just give a guy a role and stick with it. That's how you win games. Enough of this. Well, the analytics say, let's bring him in the 7th instead of the 6th. Like, just go and use the bullpen the right way, and we're going to win a lot more games. It's not rocket science to figure out a bullpen, especially if you hopefully have two guys at the top that can give you 7 innings a night in Cole and Yamamoto.
No, you're right, man. Listen, I said all last year. I've never been a Boone fan, but I'll say all last year. None of last year was his fault. There's one or two things that was dumb. I've mentioned it before, like pitching to Ohtani was dumb, and his response after it was even dumber. These kind of things. He does these dumb things, but
we had fun the next day on that one.
We did, yeah. 9 out of 10 times he doesn't hit a home run. Oh, fantastic! We're great. Let's keep pitching for him. Fantastic. But in general, none of last year was his fault. That was the worst roster I could dream of. I couldn't have had a nightmare. I come up with a worse roster than what we came up with after Aaron Judge went down. So yeah, last season aside, here's what the Yankees need to do, right? And I've been saying it, and I keep saying it. I say it all the time. Stop resting guys on a whim. Stop having pre-designated days off.
Yes.
And things would look so much better. Giving Aaron Judge random days off when he's perfectly healthy. There is I don't care what Mike Fishman says, there is not one analytic in the world which would convince me that that's a smart thing to do, right? So you've got incredibly durable guys in Gleyber Torres, right, who I assume they're not going to trade. But as long as he's here, Gleyber Torres is incredibly durable. Juan Soto is incredibly durable, right? We've already seen Volpe basically play almost 162 games last year. He's very durable, right? That's 3 guys very durable. Aaron Judge, barring that freak incident, has been durable for the last couple of years. Okay, so he's fine too. So what they need to do is keep 5 or 6 guys that they trust to play as close to every day as possible, right? And then if they want to rotate around 2 or 3 guys like Stanton, whatever, just to keep his health, fine. But you need to keep the core of your team intact in the same batting order. So I want whoever's your leadoff guy, whoever it is, whoever they choose to have, whether it's Verdugo or DJ or whatever, stick to the one guy who they believe is their leadoff hitter. Don't mix and match. Don't have a random day where Soto's your leadoff hitter, Aaron Judge is your leadoff hitter. Stop it. Stop it. Keep to the same rhythm, right? Have the same plan. Because what you want is consistency. And the more you change things, the less consistent you get, right? You want consistent results. So if I want Rizzo, say I want Judge, Soto, Stanton, Rizzo, I want that to be consistent through most of the season. Keep them in the same order so that they have the same plan, the same approach, and things will get better because you want consistency over 162. If one day you've got Volpe leading off, the next day he's batting 9th, there's no consistency. So the way you get consistency is a consistent plan every single game, and you don't need to change much. Because baseball has been going on a lot longer than the people sitting behind an Apple Mac, right? And it's always been a similar formula, man. It's a marathon, not a sprint. You don't need to chop and change too much. As long as they're healthy, get them out there and have them with the same similar approach and the same batting order, and you'll get better results. And as to Rob's point, same with the bullpen. You want guys that are designated, so you don't want just random closers on a daily basis. You want to choose your closer, who your closer is, who your setup guy is, who your middle reliever is, right? And you have that plan, and then you follow that on a daily basis. Not the same guy necessarily, but as long as you've got guys pinpointed to the same role, you'll get more consistent results. It's all about consistency. And the Yankees have strayed away from that since Mike Fishman's taken in charge, and it's been a mess because guys are getting random days off. Momentum's broken. It does a disservice to fans that are at Yankee Stadium that are looking forward to seeing their favorite player play, and they've been given a designated day off for no reason whatsoever. So let's change all that, and you'll get consistency. You'll get consistent results. As NFCs agrees with me here. Consistency is key, and that's what it's about, man. That's what it's about. You don't need to overmanage. I'm not asking Aaron Boone to overmanage. It's pretty simple. And when he's got a great team, don't mess with it. Don't mess with it. Not many teams do as much changing on a daily basis as the Yankees have done. And the Yankees screwed themselves with that bubble season because the Yankees came off roasting hot. They were on fire. They were molten lava hot to start the bubble season. Remember? They were unbeaten. They didn't look like they'd lose. And then what happened? Mike Fishman and Brian Cashman got involved. Aaron Boone got involved. And suddenly everyone was getting a rest. And then suddenly they barely made the playoffs. Right? Because that's what happens. You screw around with it, that's going to screw up. So consistency, consistent idea, consistent approach. Keep relatively the same lineup on a daily basis, and the Yankees will be just fine.
Yeah, you want to mix and match a few players in the lineup if it's a righty or a lefty pitcher. That's understandable. The other thing is, with the rest days, FL Diver pointed it out. They come back from the IL, they have to have all this extra rest. They just sat down for 15 days. Let them play. Right? If they were cleared to play, let them play. Or when they go 5 for 5, then they get 2 days off.
Yeah.
Or guys like if you're in a division matchup, you have and you're gonna have a day off the next day. Just got there's no game being played, and you still rest your big guys. Like that's another thing. That's another thing that drives me absolutely crazy. It's they don't need 2 straight days off. That's something you do for a catcher, not for your star players. You want to give your catcher an extra day. That I could see the logic to it. It helps the knees, but they don't need all this. They don't need all this time off. They really don't. It gets out of control.
Some players need it more than others. Like Stanton is probably going to get a lot of time off for obvious reasons. If it keeps him on the roster from start to finish, if they have to give him like some scheduled days off, then fine. Because I want to avoid that 2-month IL stint with him because when he's playing hurt, he's not a non-factor. He is a non-factor. But when he's healthy and he's just getting his days off like he was a couple of years ago before he got hurt in 2022, he was an all-star. So we can't forget that. The talent is still there for Giancarlo Stanton, but he's got to stay on the field. So if that's the way they keep him healthy, Rizzo, because we don't know how healed he is from that concussion, you want to give him some days off. That's why I keep saying LeMahieu should be the bench guy so he can play all over the place and back up Rizzo. You can give those guys some days off. But if Judge is healthy, like they keep saying he is, play him every day. And if he's got a little pain, okay, sit him, fine. That's fine. Absolutely fine. DH him if you have to. Give him a day off from the field. But your best players absolutely have to play. Yeah. They absolutely do. It's a pretty simple thing. And even Alex Verdugo has been pretty durable throughout his career. So there's another guy that you can get another 140, 150 games out of. They have enough players to do it. There's a couple of guys that are going to need the rest. And obviously the catchers, we know they don't play them every day, so that's fine. But you're looking at 6 guys right there. I just named 3 players that will probably need rest. Your catcher, Rizzo, and Stanton. You got 6 other guys right there that are durable. Even LeMahieu, when he's healthy, has been a durable guy. And so if he's healthy this year, hey, there's another one. play these guys, let them play, and if they're hot, don't sit them. I can't stand that. How many times did we see it last year? Last year with Peraza, he actually was on like a 4 or 5 game hitting streak, and they sat him, and then we didn't see him again because I think he ended up getting hurt. So I don't get it. I really don't get it. They don't believe in hot streaks. It's something we've always said. I'm hoping that stuff changes because the Yankees have operated a lot differently since the way last season ended. I'm hoping that they had this big wake up call to kind of go back to the old ways, but also mix in. You can mix analytics. You can. They're still very useful in this sport, but you still have to use that old school mentality a little bit to. I mean, look what happened with Texas last year. Look what happened with the Braves a couple of years ago. Old school ways still work, and it's not an old school thing just to play your best players. Like that's how it should be in every sport. You put your best guys in the field, you're gonna have a better chance to win. Like, it's not a foreign concept.
It's not rocket science.
Yeah, I pinned a couple of comments on the in regards with the lineup that were brought up earlier in the show, and it just falls into place now. And Acevedo, he's like, I have an issue with Judge not batting fourth. His lineup would be Verdugo, DJ, Soto, Judge, etc. It should be our lineup because they will pitch to Verdugo, walk Soto, and Judge, and go for the double play with Rizzo and Stanton. The goal is to get Judge as many as bats in the game as possible. That's why you're going to see him either 2 or 3. I think that's the logic they're going to go with. It makes sense, because I think the cleanup hitter is kind of changing direction a little bit from what we grew up with. I don't that's not your grand slam hitter. That's your guy that's going to back up your number 3 if he didn't get the hit. So that's a guy to keep the line moving to the middle and the back end of the lineup. It's not your power guy, your strict power guy anymore. We saw Torres, they had freaking Didi batting cleanup at one point, and it worked. So it's not. I just think that the time is changing of what we perceive as a cleanup hitter.
It's a great point, man.
And even now, you can have Rizzo as your number 4, and that's not bad. I don't know if they want to go back-to-back lefties, but I don't want to discredit John. I'm seeing people like, oh, bat Stanton 7th. No. Like if Giancarlo Stanton is healthy and he's ready to go, that's a 35, 40 home run guy. Like that's who you would want in your cleanup spot. Maybe even more. Like I'm telling you, 2022. Before he got hurt, the dude was on another level. And I know the injury is the constant theme with him. And I keep saying, if you can find a way to give him rest and give him the scheduled days off so it keeps him on the field and keeps him healthy, you're going to get a really good hitter. I like the fact that he's dropping some weight. He's getting a little more lean to try to keep him from looking like an absolute statue out there. But I don't want people just forgetting what kind of player he is. I'm seeing people treating him like he's an absolute scrub. He's not. This is Giancarlo Stanton. Even last year, as bad as he was, he almost hit 30. Like he was close to 25, I think. So he's a 30 home run season by accident sometimes. Like, come on, let's not forget who we have here. If you put him in the 4 spot, you got a really good hitter. So if you go Verdugo, Judge, Soto, Stanton, and then you go Rizzo as your 5 and Torres as your 6, like that's deadly. That is really freaking scary. And then you think about Volpe and Wells and whoever the hell else, LeMahieu, with Volpe batting 9th, LeMahieu batting 7th. I mean, even if you want to put Verdugo 7th to put LeMahieu at the leadoff spot, you can really do a lot of things. But let's not forget who Giancarlo Stanton is here. I'm just really cannot stress that enough.
No, I mean, I was one of the guys that said, at him 7th, put him as far down into the lineup as possible. If he's able to be productive, you could always adjust him. You want to put him 5 or 6. I'm okay with that, but you can't have him. In the beginning of the season, I'd be very cautious of where I put him in the lineup. I need him to prove it. I need him to prove that he's, able to put together decent at bats. I'm not even saying great at bats, decent at bats. Because there's too many weak strikeouts, and it's everything starts to crumble beneath it. So I would be. I don't think he's that top of the lineup guy anymore. He's got to prove it.
I agree that
but
the one thing that analytics has brought in is that it's smart to have your best hitter batting second or third, in order to get them as many at bats as possible. That's something I've always agreed with. It's really smart. So I don't want to wait too long to bring Aaron Judge in the end of the game. So bat him second, I'm fine with. Soto backing him up, I'm very fine with. Moving on from the batting order, what Brian Cashman talked after the Soto press conference. I liked a lot of what Brian Cashman was saying. Brian Cashman reiterated he wants to make the Yankees the mecca of baseball again.
I like that statement that he made. I thought that was. He's actually been. I mean, when he was screaming at the reporter, we went after him. But other than that, he's been. He continues, as we've been saying, very calculated with what the moves he's making, the way he's approaching the media now. I kind of think he got he got in trouble for the way he acted early in the offseason. But he's kind of toned down a little bit, and he's spot on. This should be it should be the cathedral. That's the place that everybody should want to go to at any given moment, and it hasn't been that way.
Yeah, he was off his rocker at that one press conference, but since then he hasn't said anything wrong. He said that our infield situation's fine. We're not looking to add there. Once we got Verdugo and Soto, he's like, we're probably not going to need to attack that anymore because we filled in our needs. And now he's like, we got to add some pitching. He recognizes what we lost in the Soto trade and the Rule 5 draft and the Verdugo trade. A lot of pitching was gone there. We got to recoup some assets. So what did he do? 2 days later, whatever that was, he went and got another left-handed reliever. He replaced an infielder with an infielder. We're still pursuing Yamamoto. We just picked up another guy on a minor league contract. We can still make a couple of moves that trade from our surplus of hitters to get some more pitching. So he's operating on a different level than he has in the past. Like last year, they got Rodon, said we weren't done. We were done. Didn't attack the needs. This year, he's attacked the two biggest needs. And now it's about filling that last spot and then getting some arms. And we've been saying this for the last couple of weeks. You can have this wrapped up by Christmas. Like you can have your offseason wrapped up before Christmas, if we're being honest, because Yamamoto's decision could come within the next week, according to Martino. So this could be it, right? Like the next week, and you could be done. That's pretty big. And then there's a couple of things you can figure out. Do they want to move Pereira? Do they want to move Peraza? What do you do with Torres? There's some things to figure out, but your offseason could be finished before you hit Christmas. That's huge. Because last year we were going into the spring and we're like, who the hell's the left fielder? So, and we didn't have one the entire season. Now we know who our outfielders are. We know who our infielders most likely are going to be. We got a good idea of who the catchers are going to be. If we get Yamamoto, the rotation set, the bullpen looks good. We're ready to roll. Like that's huge. I can't understate that. That is so big, knowing what the team's going to look like. The bulk of your team is going to look like before you hit December 25th. You don't see that a lot nowadays, especially with the Yankees. That is so big, and I'm hoping this Yamamoto thing goes through soon because we're going to be celebrating like we just won the lottery if we get this guy. I need this dude in pinstripes.
Another thing that Cashman revealed, which was kind of interesting, was that he tried to bring in Soto at last year's deadline, at the trade deadline in the summer, but was unable to. However, he said that it was productive negotiations to the point where it led a pathway to negotiations finalizing last week. So credit to Cashman there, because the discussion of names, the exchange of names, and the progression at last deadline made it pretty easy to get the deal done right now for this year. So I think that was great. So it's kind of cool. It's kind of interesting that Cashman, let us know that, and that was smart of his. That was kind of a smart plan. That was smart from Cashman. I have to give him his due because regardless of whether it was successful or not, last summer not getting it, it helped get the deal done this time, right? They obviously revisited it and they got the job done.
And even Steven agrees, that with Cashman, getting things done, in the whole chat. And the thing is, we need a legitimate rotation that can eat innings. I think that was the problem with the bullpen last year, is they all got burned out, going into August, and that's when everything went into a tailspin. When your starter was only going 4 or 5 innings, maybe 6, that's a terrible recipe when it comes to the health of a pitching staff.
Yeah, and we also didn't really have a rotation outside of Garrett Cole because everyone was hurt. Like we had Cortez pitching hurt. Schmidt was basically the first time he's been a starter from start to finish, so you had to keep him on a limit. Rodon was pitching hurt, and he wasn't very good. We had to use King as a starter. Brito and Vasquez were rookies. You really couldn't rely on them too much. We had to use spot starts. Ian Hamilton started a couple of games. There was Domingo Germán got suspended for 10 games. So we were pitching a man short for a good week or so. A lot of things factored into what happened last season. It was still a really bad team, though. At the end of the day, it was a terribly constructed team. The injuries certainly didn't help, losing 3 of your 5-man rotation before a pitch was thrown, but there was so much that went into it that it's hard. I don't want to go back to last year, but there are reasons. But the bulk of it was construction of the roster, not acting accordingly in the offseason to fix your issues. This year, we're not seeing that. This year, they're attacking it, and they attacked it immediately. Once the Padres were at that point when the negotiation started, the Padres weren't going to trade him. And Brian Cashman was a little pest. He's just like, no, hey, you want to trade him? You want to trade him? You want to do it? You want to do it? And the Padres like, fuck it. You can have him. What is it going to take? That's basically how it went because nobody else was talking with them. Because all we kept hearing was they want to wait till the deadline. And then 2 days later, Passan was like, I think there's a really good chance. And then names were exchanged. And then it was close. And then we had that lull of nothing. No one knew anything. And then it happened. That's what we want to see from the GM. If he had done that last year, we probably make the playoffs because we would have attacked so many more needs. But this year, they're operating with kind of urgency and almost desperation because they know another season like that, names are going to be, their heads are going to be rolling. People are going to get fired. Jobs are on the line. And Cashman's kind of operating like his job's on the line. So that's what we want. Go every offseason like your job's on the line, and we'll have the best roster in baseball history.
Another thing he made clear is that he's been wanting Verdugo for the last couple of years. So he's been trying to get Verdugo the last couple of years. He's been negotiating with Boston to try and get him, which says to me that they have a plan for Verdugo. Verdugo is not just going to be some fourth outfielder. He's going to have a legit – there's going to be a legit plan for him to be the starting corner outfielder. And also another thing that Cashman says that Aaron Judge is our starting center fielder. And he says that if gave Aaron Judge truth serum, he said that Judge would prefer to play in center field. He really enjoys it. So at the moment, it looks like Judge in center field and then Verdugo and Soto in the corners.
I think Judge just he's such a team player. I don't remember the last. When was the last time we really? I think Gina was the last guy we really had that mentality where it's never about me. It's about everybody around me. I mean, we don't get this that often, and that's why we've been putting the pressure on as fans for the front office to do something and not waste this guy. The Yankees can't afford to have another Mattingly in their history books. Where it just they never were able to put the right team together and win a championship with your face of the franchise. And their backs were put against the wall by the fans, by the pockets, with fans not up in their season tickets. We've gone through that. Sitting in the stadium the last weekend of the season, where it's usually elbow to elbow because everybody wants that last bit of baseball, and you were able to sit anywhere you wanted in the stadium. How sad is that? That was the wake-up call where, we're saying that it has to do with with Cashman being aggressive, but Hal's in his ear. I think the two of them have actually worked as a really good team this offseason, and when they're on the same page, this is the result.
This is why I came to Hal's defense last year, because no one, and I said it months ago, nobody wants to hear their name dragged through the mud. Whether you're a billionaire or you have $2 to your name, nobody wants to have their name dragged. Nobody wants to hear themselves be like, like even if you're like in a break room at work or you're at the fucking table and lunch in school and you hear like on the further side, you hear people talking shit about you. You'd be like, what the hell? What's your problem? Right? Like no one wants to hear other people talking about you. So you don't think Hal listens to he says he doesn't, but he knows what's going on. He doesn't want to hear people saying, you're not your father. Oh, you're a disgrace to your family. You're a disgrace in the pinstripe and all this stuff. Sell the team. He heard all that. He's pissed. He's like, if this team continues to play like this, I'm going to lose money. And it does come down to money at the end of the day.
Yep.
So guess what? He's putting his money where his mouth is a little bit now. He's like, hey, we're going to spend. We're going to be active. That's what he said before when this whole thing started. He said, we're going to be active. There have been a few teams that have been less active than the Yankees, or more active, I should say. Like the Dodgers and the Yankees have been like the two most active teams so far. So he said it. He said we're going to be active. He's putting his money where his mouth was because he just got Juan Soto who's going to make $30+ million this year. And yeah, they don't want their pockets being absolutely. So it comes down to money, and he doesn't want his name being dragged through the mud. He knows the legacy his father put together. And now he's got people saying how much they wish his dad was back from the dead. Like, you don't want to hear that. Like, you don't want to hear that. Like, oh, I wish your brother was still here. And if your father was still here, things would be different. You wouldn't have your job. Like, come on, the things that people are saying, you don't think he hears that? And he's kind of like taking it personally. Like, that's messed up. And so he's like, hey, I got this financial flexibility. Let me use it. And I wanted to give him some credit for that last year, and he's doing it now. And he's putting the pedal to the metal, so to speak, and he's making Cashman do these things. He's the one who pushed for King and Thorpe to be involved. He said, go do it. We need this guy. And now they're putting on that full court press to go get Yamamoto. He's like, go get it. Go do what it takes. So I love it. And I think they're operating at this level, and it's a breath of fresh air because we haven't seen them do this since the 2008 offseason where they knew they had to make something happen. Even the 2013 offseason, it was like, all right, you got McCann, but you should have brought back Cano. You went and got Beltran. Tanaka was great. Ellsbury, I did like the signing, but they weren't like earth-shattering moves like CeCe and Burnett, and then to get Teixeira, that was earth-shattering there because you stole him from the Red Sox. Like, that was huge. And when you got A-Rod, that was earth-shattering. Like, but we haven't really seen that since the 2008 offseason. Now they're doing that, getting Juan Soto like that. Like, they made it happen. Like, they just snapped their fingers and said, we're getting Juan Soto. And now it's like, we want Yamamoto too, and we're the favorites to get him. So, I mean, they're operating at a different level. So I want to give them credit, both of them. Hal before Cashman, but Cashman has been, since that press conference, he's been at a different level. And I like to see it.
I'd like to give the Yankee fans some credit too, because by not renewing the season tickets by 44%, as NFE rightly pointed out, when it affects your bottom line, you listen. And the stadium was empty all last year, really, and that affects your pockets. And also, it's a bad look for any owner. If you're looking out at a vast landscape of empty seats, it projects negativity, projects that something's not good. And so, credit to the Yankee fan, because the Yankee fan has been driven through the mud. But even Brian Cashman yesterday was like, we have the best fan base in the world. It's a great fan base, loyal fan base. So even he was boosting up the fan base yesterday, considering all the previous years where we've been dragged through the mud by the organization, blaming and booing and stuff like that on losses. It's pretty cool that we're starting to get some credit again. And I'm telling you, none of this is a surprise. Just look at, if you put the pieces of the puzzle together, right? Season tickets were down. Yankee fans were unhappy. The Yankee fans have been relatively negative and have been very vocal about it. And then you put the pieces together, And then the Yankees are far more aggressive than they ever have been. And don't ever say that the Yankee fan base or the Yankee fan voice or a voice in general of the fan base isn't listened to. They wanted to come out aggressive, and they have done so. And you know what? It's good to know that just by Cashman talking, I have an idea of what their plan is now. And that's a good thing. One thing I'll always say about Brian Cashman is he talks. He doesn't hide away. You look at other organizations, they hide away, and you don't know what their plan is as a fan. But at least we know, as a Yankee fan, that the guys that are running our organization has an idea, and they're wanting to go all in. Great. I've got a Knicks hoodie on. I have no idea what the Knicks plan is one day to the next because they never talk. I can't remember the last time the GM has ever talked. They don't talk. The president doesn't talk. Nobody talks. I have no idea one day to the next what their idea is. The Yankees, I give them full credit because although it didn't work out in the last deadline, they had a pathway to success for this coming winter to get Soto. So that means that my GM is working round the clock to get this team better, and I give him full credit for that. He gets a hard time, and we on this channel have given him as hard a time as any. But when he does right, and when he steps up, and when he does good things, I have to give him credit, and I give that Soto deal an A++. I think it was an absolute steal. I think it was smart, and I love the fact that they've been working on this for a long time, and they managed to get the pathway to success. That's what it's about, man. Due diligence. Work hard. Keep at it. AJ Preller's a really good GM. You ain't going to get a Juan Soto for nothing, but we got a very good deal out of it. So,
no, I think both teams won that trade.
Cashman should be super happy. Should be ecstatic, actually. I'm very happy about the approach, and I'm proud of the Yankees. They've stepped up. They listened to their fans. Who are like, no, to be honest, this ain't working. This is no good. Let's make this team good again.
Yeah, I don't think it's been said enough that both teams won that trade. We got an urgent need, and so did they. And it didn't, and both teams financially were assisted. So we were able to clear some space to make other moves. Cashman's had an A season, off season this far. Actually, Hal and Cashman have had an A season, off season. I don't even think I could take it against them. With Yamamoto. Because now he's talking even more teams while he's in the States. So that's kind of got me. I'll be lying if it's not making me nervous. But my gut tells me he'll ultimately be here. But the longer it drags out, the more I'm going to get. The more I'm going to lose it. He can only decide where he goes. The Yankees have no control over that. So it's how they pivot will continue to save their off-season success.
Well, I don't think we need to talk about pivoting yet because from what I understand, Andy Martino was on SNY yesterday. He said the Yankees are clear favorites right now. The Yankees were very, very happy with the meeting.
Yeah.
So it's not hidden. The Yankees are favorites. The Yankees have been going around with their tail feathers up for a long time, man. The last couple of so they're fully confident of these negotiations. Apparently, the meeting went so well that Andy Martino on the Mets basic network was just like, the Yankees are favorites for this. So
yeah, now he's turned.
I don't
the
think
Mets...
we need to talk about pivot yet. All right, and it's not that hidden. Yamamoto wants to be a Yankee. The Yankees want Yamamoto, and they had a really good meeting. I'm not saying that it's like 100% nailed in, but the fact that on the Mets channel they weren't even saying the Mets are favorites. It's a pretty good sign that the Yankees are in front here, right? So let's be positive. Let's not talk about pivoting yet because I'm 100% sure. Oh, I see 99% sure that Yamamoto will be wearing pinstripes next week. Sure of it. If it doesn't happen, then something's changed quickly. But at the moment, the Yankees had a great meeting with him. It's been fed back. They had a great meeting with him. And I don't think the Dodgers are involved because the Dodgers are discussing a deal for Tyler Glasnow.
Yeah.
So I don't think that they're going to get it, and I don't think Yamamoto wants to go and be second fiddle to the king of Japan right now in Ohtani. I think he wants to have his own legacy. So that leaves the Mets and the Yankees, and there's no competition. Come on.
Well, now Martino is trying to say the Mets were the underdogs the whole time. I'm sorry. This whole fucking offseason, we've been hearing Uncle Steve or whatever the hell they call him. And Steve's got King Co, and he's got the pockets. Oh, they're the new kings of New York, the kings of New York. And all of a sudden now you're the underdog this whole time. Pick a side. This is why I can't stand the goddamn Mets. And I will never, ever, ever feel sympathy for that team because they do this all the time. This little brother syndrome that they pull. And no matter what, it's always got to be about the Yankees, right? You got Mets fans on Twitter. All they do is they say, if he doesn't go to the Yankees, you got Mets fans with the word Yankee tattooed on them. All they care about is how bad the Yankees are. Go F yourselves, Mets, because you're not the underdog. As long as they have a tax made after your owner, you are not the underdog for anything. You're going to talk about flexing your wallet for anything you can. You want every player. Last year, you got Scherzer 2 years ago, and you got Verlander. You paid $80+ million to two 40-year-old pitchers, and now you're the underdog. All of a sudden, you're the underdog, right? Because the Yankees are the favorites, and the Dodgers might swoop in to be second. If you don't get him, you might as well have been 10th in the race because whoever doesn't get him lost the race to get the guy. I don't want to hear this.
Last.
Yeah. Why all of a sudden now you're the underdog? Because for the entire last few months of the season and all this offseason, it was Yamamoto to the Mets. Oh, we're going to get Yamamoto this year, and then we're going to take Soto from you guys next year. What's going to happen next year if the Yankees are in the talks with Soto and the Mets are second fiddle? Is it going to be, what's it going to be? Oh, we're the underdogs because we're just not the Yankees. But you're taking over New York, right? You've been talking about taking over the state for the last decade. It hasn't happened yet, and it's not going to happen. So enough with it, Mets. I can't stand the fucking Mets, man. This is what they do every goddamn year. They always find a way to make this shit about the Yankees. Fuck the Mets. If you get them, great. Celebrate that. But I guarantee you, if the Mets sign Yamamoto, they're going to make it more about how the Yankees didn't get him. I guarantee you that.
Let Rob cook. Let Rob cook. They absolutely freaking killed it there, my guy.
That was, that's it. But there's nothing more to add to that.
You could leave Uncle Tat speechless, but my man, cousin Rob over here just absolutely left him speechless. And he's right. Fuck the Mets. Fuck all of them. We don't care. I don't have a Mets tattoo, nor would I ever need to. I don't need to. The Yankees are my full focus, so why should I bother spending 99% of the time hating on another team? That sounds like a waste of time, waste of energy. Thing is, they do have little brother syndrome. I don't understand what this Uncle Steve has done. He brought in Verlander and Max for a combined age of 90, and it barely worked for half a season. So let's just calm down on King Cohen and all this crap, right? It takes more to run a franchise than just having deep pockets. Okay, that's what has always been proven. Now, I'm not saying they're going to be a bad team moving on. I'm sure they'll be fine, but they ain't getting Yamamoto. I'm pretty sure of it because Yamamoto ain't dumb. He knows which logo means something around the world. He knows which logo when a baseball player is growing up wherever you are, whether it's the Dominican Republic, whether it's Japan, whether it's the United States, or whether it's Europe. It doesn't matter. They know what logo means something. When you are born, you see that Yankee emblem, and that means something. That Met emblem means nothing. That emblem just means the second team in New York. And if you combine it with the other franchises, it's about the fifth team in New York. So let's calm down, right? So let's calm down on the Met talk because no one cares outside Met fans. So,
well, when was the last time you saw these Hollywood guys, or people in Hollywood? They all have their Yankee hats. When was the last time you saw somebody in Hollywood with a Met hat on? They're wearing the Yankee hat as a fashion statement. Meanwhile, nobody even knows who the Mets are. They don't know what borough they play in. You know, you think they don't know shit, but they know that Yankee logo worldwide. So yeah, it's little brother syndrome. That's all it is. Yeah, Jerry Seinfeld. All right, Jonathan. You figured you'd be on top of that. But who else? You know what I meant, John. Right. But
And even in that show, what team did George Costanza end up working for?
The Yankees, baby.
Come on. Even in Jerry Seinfeld, who's like the biggest Mets fan in the world, he had to do something with the Yankees on his show. He had to make fun of the Yankee owner. And then what happened? George Steinbrenner went on his show. So you didn't get the Mets owner on your show. You didn't get any. He got Keith Hernandez. Derek Jeter and Bernie Williams are both on your show. I mean, come on now. Even Mets fans are even back then, Seinfeld had to bow down to the Yankees. Like, come on.
Yep.
I know I sound like a homer right now, but when it comes to the Mets, I will fight them as much as possible because I cannot stand them sometimes. And it pains me because my grandpa was a Mets fan. He always tried to convert me. And I said, there's nothing you can possibly say to me that will make me transform into a Mets fan. I don't want to be miserable. The Giants stunk for a long time. I was like, we already suffer with the same football team. Why would I want to suffer with the same baseball team with you? So I'm not converting. I would never convert. And again, fuck the Mets. That's all. That's how I'm going to end it. Fuck them.
Yep.
Yeah, my grandfather brought me up with zero respect for the Mets. He called them the Mutts. They are the Mutts. And he had a hard time with anyone who was a Mutts fan. He kind of looked at them differently. And I love that. So he'd make fun of them. And so I've never had any respect for them. So my grandfather's right. It's the Yankees all day, man. We're not interested in the Mutts. The Mutts can go and sign somebody else, but you ain't getting Yamamoto.
But on that note, that's going to wrap things up for us this Wednesday. We will be back Friday morning. We'll bring you more all-season news and talking points, and we are very much looking forward to that. So hopefully we'll have some more some highlights from the off-season, some more signings. We'll get more into what the Giants are doing as they did acquire Lee, but not our team, not our worry right now. Our outfield is set. So on that note, if you haven't already, hit that like button. Subscribe if you have not subscribed. We are growing rapidly and be a part of the family. And as I always say, wear your pinstripes with pride and play hard.